Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. Yeah.
Oh, I've seen a flying saucer.
You've seen one?
Yes, definitely.
Unidentified aerial phenomena.
To cover up our mistakes.
I've met people who swear they've seen Bigfoot.
Join us for a journey into the obscure.
You are now listening to The Wow Pod. Oh, another week.
Yep.
Crazy week. It's a crazy world we live in.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So,
hey, Misty. Hey, Cody.
Yep.
Sweetheart.
Hi, guys. Good to see you. So, first we're going to do some, we want to talk about CHAZ to start off with, or CHUD, or CHODE.
It's CHOP now.
CHOP.
Hi, Michaela.
TAINT, whatever they call it. Anyways,
TAINT.
For those of you who know me and know my my odd political standings, I was excited when this started.
I remember you were super excited. You said, let him try it.
Well,
let him experiment.
Not like that. I never wave a fist. But I was excited to see if a free society could work.
Hey, Matt.
But then the realization hit, they're fucking communists.
It's not panning out.
Oh, man.
I was kind of excited to see the experiment. Like they had pushed through. They had, and I saw the video from, it was probably a third story apartment of the police and the protesters kind of holding the line right there in front of the precinct. And it was getting really ugly. I think that as a police chief, decisions at that very time have to be made. Do you escalate and suffer, or do you step back and try to de-escalate? And I think that the chief of police, obviously from what she said, does not agree with what the mayor has done. But the mayor's in charge, so she said okay.
I like how the governor, like 5 days into it's like, what? Huh?
What's going on?
I only ran for president for a minute. God damn, we dodged a bullet with that moron. Anyways, no, here's my. All right, I guess I should have realized you can't take unproductive people, hand them the reins, and expect shit to get done. It takes productive people to get shit done. It takes people with well thought out ideas, not something they learned in whatever feminist class they took in college. Sorry if I offend anyone with this, but anyways, let's talk about kind of a loose timeline. So they take over this 7-block radius, whatever. And they're all Trump haters. So step one, build a wall.
We hate Trump. He wants to close our borders.
Step two, they hate guns. So what's obvious? Step two, arm the wall.
Arm the wall.
Step three, they started deporting people.
Yep.
Started kicking people out. All right. Yep. More hate Trump there.
The Christian preacher, they hauled his ass out. Yep.
No, the Christian preacher, they did worse. Step four, Me Too movement, they tackled him and gay kissed him. Sexual assault. Let's make sure we they have no principles.
Yeah.
They have no, they're goddamn children. I'll bet if we tossed one grade school nun in there, she could shape them sons of bitches right up. We'd
whip them into shape.
Give her a big ruler. God damn. I'm watching. I was excited. I was like, let's see,
And did you see their gardening? You
mean where they upended potted plants on cardboard and grass?
They just put down cardboard.
Oh,
didn't even dig, and they just piled some dirt on top of it.
Now what are they doing? They're segregating the garden.
Oh yes, the gardening is segregated. So the specific gardens, like this is for whites only, this is for blacks only, this is for Hispanics only, and they're plant allies is what the sign says. I don't think any plants are allies. They don't want to be eaten. So
Let's rummage through their demands.
yeah,
I'm
it's senseless.
I'm
I'm
bummed
surprised
out
like
that-
Domino Pizza on Tuesdays isn't one of their demands.
well, they're ruining what could be a quality
Yeah.
a quality test or a trial. Anyway, so oh, okay. In credit to the people who freed Capitol Hill.
Freed.
This list of demands is neither brief nor simplistic. This is no simple request to end police brutality. We demand that the city council and the mayor, whoever that may be, you didn't take a minute to find that out. You live there. God, is there, could you just say, does anyone live around here? You know, I granted you were probably bust in, but there's got to be
Somebody who's
One-
local.
one moron in there that's local who can say, yeah, this is the mayor. Anyways, whoever that may be, implement these policy changes for the cultural and historic advancement of the city of Seattle and to ease the struggles of its people. Okay.
So okay, so up to this point, besides the fact that they don't know the mayor's name, I'm on board. I'm all about easing the
Yeah.
struggle of a people,
Yeah.
advancement.
Do they have a lot of struggle in that area? That's another question. I don't know. They might. I've never been to Seattle.
Seattle's a big city. I've spent quite some time in Seattle and Tacoma and up and around those areas. I wouldn't say it's a dangerous city. So, you know, perhaps they've had, you know, good policing, or perhaps they've just had very strict policing. But I always felt like I could wander Seattle. You know, whereas you get into Chicago, you don't go out at night. You get into DC, you do not go out at night.
Really?
You get into San Francisco,
Even in like the
downtown district, Washington, D.C., a cop will pull over and tell you to go home. If you are a white woman, I know, I can attest to this, who's wandering aimlessly looking for Ruth Chris.
huh. Okay. Well,
They will pull over and say, ma'am, what are you doing? It's dangerous. You need to get back to your hotel.
okay. Well, all right.
Seattle's not like that.
I've never been in a city like that. But anyway, so they've got a kind of a police injustice demand in here. The Seattle Police Department and attached court system are beyond reform. We do not request reform. We demand abolition.
Okay, so that's so loose. What does that mean? Like everyone, give us your
just-
badges, go home?
Just, yeah, abolish the police force. We demand that the Seattle Council and the mayor defund and abolish the Seattle Police Department and the attached criminal justice apparatus. This means 100% of funding, including existing pensions for the Seattle police. So they want to do with pensions also.
It's about revenge.
Yeah. At an equal level of priority, we also demand that the city disallow the operations of ICE in the city of Seattle.
It's a port city.
Yeah.
Okay.
We demand the retrial of all people in color.
All?
Is that how?
Like through history? Everyone in the system?
Well, in color, that must be a new phrase. So you don't say of colors, in color.
I'm a color.
Okay.
I'm kind of a pasty chalkboard color, according to the lighting in here, but I'm a color.
So all people in color currently serving a prison sentence for violent crime by a jury of their peers in their community. Is that a jury of other criminals, or is that a jury of...
Most of these people would have likely had their day in court, correct?
Well, they want it done by what they consider their peers, it sounds like.
So a retrial.
Yes.
Mm.
And they demand the abolition of imprisonment. Generally speaking, but especially the abolition of both youth prisons and privately owned for-profit prisons. Okay. I've got my own feelings on the private prison system. I could, I mean, I'm for one that all non-violent criminals should never show up in jail or prison.
Yeah. I think so long as you can prove that there's not, I mean, because some crimes don't have a direct.
Well, okay. So you got a DUI, you sleep it off in the jail because what else are they going to do? Drive you home? I mean, we're not running, red and blue Uber, but you sleep it off in the jail and then they cut you loose with the big summons that you still get the fine that coincides with it.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I think drug charges that only involve you, those should not be considered violent crimes. You should not be imprisoned for those.
But I don't know what drug charges don't involve only you.
Well, I guess if you're selling to children at a schoolyard,
then the crime is selling substances to children,
right?
Not a drug crime. It's a crime of as if you were giving them alcohol or pornography or
right.
I don't know. Just a different
distinction.
Yeah. So you've got a crime there that you can go after. But I'm the crazy person who thinks that drug laws are kind of a detriment on the nation. The last item on the justice system list goes full-fledged socialist in stating, we demand that the funding previously used for Seattle police be redirected into A, socialized health and medicine for the city of Seattle. Free public housing, because housing is a right, not a privilege. So they demand what they don't understand is when you say you build something because I demand it, you've enslaved another person.
Correct.
So they're okay with slavery, apparently. Public education to decrease the average class size in city schools and increase the teacher salary. I could probably, that one I wouldn't argue against, except how they're getting there. Naturalization services for immigrants to the United States living here undocumented.
I'd say now the whole immigration issue bothers me because I do know that there is a waiting list, and I do know that people who truly take all of the measures and go through all of the processes and wait to become naturalized citizens, they appreciate it.
Well, let's also talk about this. They want the school class size to get smaller, right?
But we want to bring in immigrants.
And then they're going to flood it with immigrants. That school's class size suddenly swells. And then do they hire more teachers? And then when there's no more teachers to hire, do they walk the streets at gunpoint, just snatching up people that look like they might be able to teach something?
You look smart.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then
it doesn't make sense. They don't understand the cause and effect.
They've got no vision of a timeline. They never follow their ideas to their conclusion at the end. Jesus Christ, you goddamn communists are retarded. They want the de-gentrification of Seattle.
Really?
Okay. So they want to rent control, and that sounds like they want to kick people out that earn. Seattle, you know what? Let them run it. Let them run it. Let's flood it with secret cameras, and it'll be the newest reality show.
So
it'll be, we'll call it like Seattle Mad Max or
the Thunderdome.
Yeah.
The Antifa stand, the Thunderdome.
How long would it take us to build a big, thick glass dome?
Oh, I think the best idea I've heard, and we kind of hemmed about this before, is give it to them.
Yeah.
I worry about the people inside, but I think that sometimes in order for bad ideas to play themselves out, we have to allow them the space to do so. So put up a border wall, put up Border Patrol, let them declare that they are no longer citizens of the United States, as they have already done, make them immigrate back in when they have run out of supplies, make them, negotiate for power, for sewer, for garbage, figure out a way to sustain themselves, to pay for things. I think the only problem with all of this it's the shrapnel. It's the innocent people that live within these six, because we're talking apartment buildings, businesses. There are hundreds of people that live in this stretch of downtown Seattle.
Yeah.
And or work or have businesses there. So there is shrapnel, and perhaps in building this border wall, we give some kind of reparations to those poor people so they can get the hell out.
I want to see the Simpsons movie where the helicopters come in and they just set the dome down.
So plop.
Just bong, and then the guy's name was Les Cargill, and he talks about the guards he wants out there. He wants it, 55 short men and 59 tall men, and the way he wants them is tall, short, tall, short. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it has become a thing. I really did have high hopes for it.
Oh, I did too. I thought I even said it on my other show. I want to see how this plays out. Well, we've seen it.
Damn it.
We have seen it.
So good.
I'm telling you, I am surprised that these morons know how to wipe their asses.
Yeah.
They probably don't. I'm
send
giving
in
them credit.
They did send in porta potties. So likely there's instructions inside.
Got it.
Step 1, sit here. I don't know. I know that the mayor was trying to negotiate the garbage removal and
you got to do that for the innocent people that are in there.
This is the problem, is they're terrorizing some, from what I understand. Like there's a couple of, so Seattle is well known for their queer bars. That's what they're actually called. There's a string of queer bars, and they are exactly that.
They're okay.
And they proudly, they sell t-shirts. I was in Seattle's queer bar. There's a couple of those within the district that they have taken over within the autonomous, no longer autonomous, the occupied protest country of CHOP. So there's a couple
CHAZ
of those.
was a cooler name.
Yeah, it really was. And it was cool because the leader was Raz.
We should go to CHODE next. Oh, he's got a Me Too complaint or something, so he's out.
Oh yeah.
We should go to CHODE next. Capitol
CHODE.
Hill Occupied District.
CHODE
people. You hear me? It's free.
We've got to come
Yours
up with
to
an
use.
acronym for TAINT. The
That-
country of TAINT.
That area in no trouble. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'll keep
Yeah.
working on it for you guys, CHODE. And then
CHODE.
once I get that figured out.
The occupants of CHODE. Damn it.
Oh, they could call their defense forces TAINT.
Ain't no defense force like ours.
The armed individuals now
Terrorizing.
terrorizing, TAINT. The taint of CHODE.
The taint of CHODE.
Oh God. But anyway, so I just had to get that off my chest.
CHODE.
I'm very disappointed in them.
Yeah, and I'm watching closely.
Maybe
but
if they get ahead of this, they can hire an adult.
wouldn't that be great? Someone who can actually make decisions.
Just hire one adult.
So you got some weird news.
Okay.
Not
Yep.
that CHAZ CHODE isn't weird enough, but
Yeah, let's move on to the weird news because that's our jam.
that's
All
our
right.
jam.
So in California, some people look out their back window and it's hot there, So a bear is chilling in his swimming pool. It's like just kind of resting its butt on the edge of the pool. So
That would be terrifying.
and I guess last year they had a bear climb the fence. There's a bear rooting through the garbage. So California, I guess, really is bear country.
Well, especially I've heard reports. Yonkers, New York, Yonkers, just outside.
The
of-
city with the best name in all of the
Yeah,
United States.
just outside. A friend of mine posted that there were bears in the park.
Really?
They're coming back because it's been so quiet because of COVID.
Really?
Yeah, they're no longer scared.
Huh.
She was like, "Okay, this is like the 7th level of Jumanji."
It is.
The
It
bears,
is.
the bears are
You know,
coming back.
everyone's been throwing up those predictions on Facebook memes. No one threw up the bears.
Yeah, no one threw up the bears.
All right. You want to go with the penguins next?
Okay, so let's talk penguins because I had no idea about this. Apparently, penguin research is dangerous stuff, and not for the reasons that you would think. Okay, a professor from Copenhagen goes on to talk about Professor Bo Elberling from the University of Copenhagen said that the truly intense nitrous oxide coming from the guano of these seabirds.
Do they call it guano? I thought
Uh-huh.
that was just bats.
No, excrement, seabirds and bats, they both of them are called guano. So these seabirds, these penguins come ashore and they excrement everywhere. He says that it's literally nitrous oxide. So he says it's laughing gas. And he said, can you imagine? So you're there to study the birds.
Dentists worldwide now are shopping for pet penguins.
You're there to study the birds, but you cannot stop laughing. And he said, it's fine at first. It's funny
I'm
at
sure.
first. But then after several hours, you go completely, as he literally said, cuckoo. You begin to feel ill. You get a headache. It's such a heavy dose from a combination of the nitrous oxide with the hydrogen sulfides and the other gases coming from that.
So do they just hold their duke in while they're in the water and just
it literally
all of them blow the doors off the barn when they get on shore?
I don't know, but who do they teach you this when you're studying? Is this something you learn in the field?
Imagine the first guy to find out.
I mean, why aren't we wearing like oxygen masks if you're up there? I don't understand. That's an interesting story to me. I'd never heard that. That
That's
penguin poo makes you go cuckoo.
Dude, there's going to be a bunch of people wanting to get a little hit running up to
Taking
the
a
Arctic
hit.
now.
Yeah, that's a hell of a long way to go.
Right now they're putting on their shoes, getting ready to head down to the store to buy a winter coat.
The
Head south.
occupants of CHODE are on their way.
CHODE. If you find the penguins.
That's where it's at.
All right, and you got another story.
I've got
right?
another story.
Oh boy.
This is the stuff. Okay, people, if you're going to do things like I'm about to explain to you, double check the address. Double check that you've given them the correct address. Triple check. Send them a copy of your latest electric bill. Listen, I don't care what you do in your spare time. You're free to do the things that people do, but really, you got to be ready. Here's what happened. A man, not a couple, hired two men to sneak into his bedroom and carry out a sexual fantasy of being tied up in his underwear. And help me, Lord Jesus, I'm not making this up. He wanted to be stroked with a broom.
He wanted to be what?
Yes.
Like brushed?
Yes. Tied up in his underwear and stroked with a broom.
Where'd he get this from?
I don't know, but here's the deal. This is in Sydney, Australia. So these
Okay.
two men take on this job.
Sydney, bringing it strong this week. I see.
These two men take on this job and they're like, it's money, man. Like, we could do that.
Okay, this guy.
So where do you go to hire people to stroke you with a broom?
That's-
Craigslist?
No, that's got to be deep in one of those kinky hire websites. So he goes, first of all, how much time do they need to like wipe the tears out of their eyes after he tells them he wants to be brushed
With a broom.
with the broom?
Like, are we
And
talking like a...
Do they have follow-up? Do you want like a horsehair broom?
Yeah, like are we talking like a
General
shop
Polly?
broom?
Yeah. Do you want the outside thick bristle? Do you want something soft that's meant for lighter dust?
So here's what
Do you want the straight broom or like the, do I have to stand on the bed above you and sweep you off?
So
Where does the dustpan go?
he hires these guys and they go about it only to discover they're at their wrong address.
So some poor bastards asleep one night.
There was
He wakes up to the sound of zip ties and two great big guys, all scary and menacing. And then they break out a broom on it.
As you can see in the picture, to make it more realistic, they brought machetes.
Oh.
So
He hired the men on Facebook.
is that what it says? Who knew?
Do you just put out a general ad?
Like in your 411, your local 411.
Yeah, in the marketplace? Looking for two men, preferably with brooms, but if not, check behind my kitchen door. Oh my God.
So now one of the men, Terrence Leroy, has now been acquitted. He was charged with entering the home, intending to intimidate while armed with an offensive weapon. And he was acquitted because the judge, after getting all the facts, he said, the facts of this case are unusual. However, I'm going to acquit him of this because the evidence does not suggest that the men's actions were intentional. They carried the machetes either as a prop or to use as a fantasy or something. And okay, according to court documents, it stated that he wanted a broom handle to be rubbed around his underwear. So the broom handle.
Okay, hold on. Now we've had a question.
Oh no.
Michaela
Oh, no.
says, if he's paying good, I'll do it. Michaela, he's willing to pay up to $3,300. Now, that's aside from you have to go to Australia to do it, and you just have to recognize that afterwards you're not going to be able to shower what you did off of you.
Uh-huh.
Oh God.
Oh,
Seriously. This is they went to the wrong house.
so okay, fine. Perhaps to each his own sexual fantasy. Do you? But like I said, listen, if these are the things that you're going to carry out, being contracted to do so, come on, make them send you a copy of their most recent utility bill. Because can you imagine? You could just send these guys anywhere.
You could. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you got an ex you don't like. It's nuts. It's nuts. But the one guy was acquitted. I haven't been able to find out what happened to the other of the two men. Perhaps he had other charges that he's being held on and they just haven't got to him yet. But crazy train. Who does that? Who does that?
Where did he get that geek?
To be brushed with a broom. Oh, stop it.
That is craziness.
Yeah, pretty nuts.
That is okay.
And then they took a machete. Can you imagine waking up to two people with a machete that want to tie you to the bed and
And
brush
not
you with a
being the
broom?
guy that hired him. That's well, first you're tied up. You're like, okay, wallet's over there. I keep my watch on the nightstand.
brushing you.
And then that guy pulls out a broom. You're like,
wait a minute.
what's going on here?
What are you
Yeah.
going to do with that broom handle?
And then he starts to handle up around your delicate bits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
That's a terrible thing. That's a terrible thing to wake up to. I feel bad for the poor people.
man.
And they're not going to get any justice because, I mean, I don't know.
What justice is there to get?
What is, yeah, like it's just scary. There's no justice.
Oh, it's insane.
I mean, what if the guy in his conversation said, and if I beg you to stop, don't stop. And so this
I'm gonna scream. I'm gonna scream. I'm
just keep going.
I keep going while I scream.
So then these poor people that they broke into their house are like, please stop, please, what are you doing? They're like, yeah, that's right, keep going.
Yeah, no matter who else is in there, just do it. Poor
Ah,
wife's in there screaming while the husband's
being broomed.
oh
Yeah,
God.
brooms.
Man.
Why brooms?
That is his mom must have took a left at Albuquerque. She must have. All right. On to the meat and potatoes of the night.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk tonight about some of the weird experiments the USSR did.
Okay.
Now, these are some of the
Are these conspiracy or these are known?
no.
Known-ish?
We've got some videos of some of them.
Oh, gross. Okay, let's do this.
They're sad, but we're going to start off tonight. Now, I run across this from the Sun magazine, but it was also in like the New York Times and everything else. The Sun got it from them. But so in the 1920s, there was, you're going to have to bear with me as I try to stumble and trip over this Russian name.
Hey, Jan.
Ilya Ivanovich Ivanov.
Oh, that's good. Ivanovich
That wasn't
Ivanov.
too
That
bad.
is a Russian name.
It looks
Hey,
scary
Ben.
as hell when you read it. It looks scary, but it flows off. So he was a Soviet biologist who worked on cross species breeding in the early 20th centuries, in the 1920s. So first I want to
cross species.
yes.
Okay.
So I want to kind of go off beat a bit and talk about a chimp named Oliver, who a guy and his brother. This is a picture of Oliver on the screen right now. A guy and his brother worked in the Congo as like guides for a minute, and I think they lived in New Jersey or somewhere. And then the guy came back, had his wife and everything. And then Oliver got sent to him by his brother because Oliver was kind of ignored by the other chimps. As you can see in the picture, Oliver stands upright and has a different shaped face than a normal chimp, like a narrower chin, but the chin also protrudes out more. So Oliver,
It's creepy.
yeah, and Oliver couldn't be used as the guy who
Hi, Patricia.
had him raised chimps to be in movies, but
So do you think
but he could never use Oliver because Oliver
Oh.
walks upright all the time.
Oliver looks like my relatives?
Well, or your brother, either way. And he had a different shaped face than the rest, and a lot of the pictures aren't great. And Oliver is still alive.
No.
But
That's Oliver?
So they called Oliver the Humanzi. So
That's Oliver?
Yeah, that's Oliver. And he looks creepy in the picture, but apparently what went on is Oliver, as he matured, the guy died, so the wife still had Oliver. And as Oliver matured, Oliver started getting sexually aggressive towards the wife. So the wife then sold Oliver. Oliver went to another animal collector, and Oliver apparently, last I heard, is still alive.
Let's talk about the sheer strength of chimpanzees.
Well, Oliver bent her over a table once, and she was at his whim, and not for the fact that she was wearing clothes. I think it would have been real bad.
Yeah, because they're extremely
Strong
strong.
as 4 men.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll yank the arms off of any pro wrestler. So, anyways,
That's scary.
Ilya, we'll call him, or Ivanov, he was trying to carry out experiments to inseminate chimpanzees with human sperm to try to make a humanzee, to make a military force that was strong, was agile,
Oh,
could
Planet of the Apes
could
shit.
eat crazy foods. That was one of their things. They didn't have to worry about what they fed them because chimpanzees have a
They have
more diverse diet than us.
mhm.
So he tried it, and he did the human to chimp attempt, and it just didn't work. It didn't take. So then,
Thank the Lord.
no. So then the crazy bastard
No.
went the other direction.
No.
He milked a chimp and tried poking it in a lady.
And
Well, that didn't work either.
thank God.
That didn't work. And so then his
Do you think the lady knew? Do you think like she was an active participant in this? I mean,
what's in the turkey baster, Doc? What's in the
do
turkey
you
baster?
think like she was drugged?
Oh, you know.
And then he's like, "So, you pregnant?" I mean, what a weirdo.
Oh my gosh.
Stop doing
anyways,
no.
Then the Soviet government did what the Soviet government did. For whatever reason, decided he was crazy or a failure, and they exiled him to the Kazakh Socialist Republic.
Kazakhstan.
Yeah, where he died 2 years later from a stroke.
Stroked out.
Yep. So they went there. They were trying. Now I do not have videos of their attempts.
Thank God.
Thank God. But
This
next
tender
story,
mercies of 2020.
this next story is worse.
Oh
Betsy.
no. Is it from the USSR too?
All these are from the USSR.
What is happening in a communist country? What are they doing?
I don't know. So
you think CHAZ will do that? They're over there trying to.
these guys are probably trying to figure out who's got the best dreads right now, or something. Who wears
Vladimir?
Who wears the best pink backpack?
Oh,
Anyways,
yeah.
so around the same time, this is in 59.
It's in
1959. Soviet scientist.
I know people who were alive during this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vladimir Demikov. He was a organ transplant pioneer.
Patricia says that is how Putin came to life.
Oh.
Okay. I'm going to give that to you because if you go back to the humanzee and you pop in a side-by-side of Putin, I'm here to tell you, you may be onto something.
Maybe, yeah. It could be.
Looking pretty similar.
Oh, man.
Okay, go on.
So anyway, Vlad, he was an early organ transplant pioneer. But he is, if you like dogs, this is not a good show for you.
All dog lovers, plug your ears.
Yes.
Right about now.
And just for the next 40 minutes. So Vlad did experiments on puppies, and he wanted to create a two-headed dog.
Why?
A living, breathing,
like straight out of Harry Potter?
Two-headed dog. Well, that was Cerberus, a three-headed dog. But I think he just wanted to see
Putin. There he is.
if he could. So now you'll see in this video that's playing right now that there are two heads stuck to the same dog, and they're both drinking out of a bowl right now. One dog is like a big German Shepherd. The other one is
connected them
small-
surgically.
They only lived for a couple days because they couldn't stop them. But see, the little dog is sewn onto kind of the back of the neck of the big dog. They could both drink and bark and bite, and they shared blood, but they only lasted a couple of days because the infection would kill them. And he did it to lots. And see, there's the little dog on top getting a drink.
Why though?
Because this guy was a sick monster, I think would be the proper phrase.
Okay, so normally scientific study has an end game. Like we want to get like the humanity. I want to create a humanity. What this has no end game. This is just Frankenstein.
You know what? I need to play this again for the people. So I'm sorry, Betsy, you got to watch it twice. I need to share it.
Oh no. Okay,
Yep.
here comes, guys.
Yep.
Here comes.
So we'll keep talking while it plays, but pay attention to the screen. So there's the dogs playing, and there they are sewn together. Look at them both drinking. And imagine the immense pain and horror these two dogs are in.
Yeah, this is cruelty. I hope this guy suffered.
Yeah, I do too. I really do.
If the karmic will is a true thing, and he's had to come back and pay retribution,
dung beetle.
He's the pile of shit that the dung beetle is pushing around.
A tick that gets onto a bumhole.
Oh,
that is horrible.
Please let there actually be a karmic will, because this guy deserves
that is horrible. That is one of the worst. Yeah. And I've watched it a few times, but yeah. So
but what's the point?
I think it was just to prove that they could. He was an organ transplant guy. He did all sorts of crazy stuff. Okay. He tried transplanting a dog's head onto another dog. He did like 20.
So like
now this, and
heads?
he was in East Germany.
Oh.
And he did this to 20 animals during the Cold War. 20 animals, or 40 animals, for
20 experiments.
20. Yeah. And one of them lived for nearly a month. And that was that one you saw that was, the puppy looked like it had got used to being stuck on the back of a bigger dog. But yeah, it's just horrible.
Oh, I'd never heard of that. That
Yeah.
just makes my stomach churn. That is a terrible thing to do.
Well, there's more. Now, they had a poison laboratory of the Soviet Secret Services. Now, we touched on this when we talked about MK Ultra.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the LSD and the different kinds of what were they, just hallucinogenics
and death poisons, heart attack poisons, all that stuff.
Mm.
So the Soviet Secret Service opened its first poison laboratory in 1921, and they called it the Special Office, and they used it to test various deadly poisons. And then it was renamed in 1939. It was renamed Laboratory 1, and the head honcho's name was Grigory Maryanovsky. Oh, Jesus.
Maryanovsky.
Can I get a vowel? Somewhere in that Visky. Anyways, he's a biochemist and poison developer. So what they would do is they would test these deadly poisons on human prisoners from the gulags.
Oh.
So they would take these guys that went to prison because, I don't know, they wore blue jeans or,
all the arbitrary shit.
Yeah. And they would test these poison on them. These poisons include mustard gas, ricin, digitoxin, curare, and cyanide, all in a bid to find a tasteless, odorless chemical that couldn't be detected after death. So we're trying to make assassination poisons. He was Grigory Miranowski. I can't do that fast. He was a notorious Soviet biochemist and poison developer. And, he initiated this secret program, and he would grab these political prisoners and just test them on them until, and they would give them to him as meal, in the food or in the water or as a medication. And they eventually developed C2/K2, carbylamine chlorine chloride. Sorry, guys. If you're following along and trying to spell this,
It's like when you try to read your prescription bottle.
and it's me even worse, I should not be trying to read anything. But so what it did is it caused the victims to become calm and silent, and then take 15 minutes later, they would just die.
And it's untraceable.
And yeah, you couldn't trace it.
Whenever I see things like this,
Well, there's more.
that this is still going on.
Probably. But anyway, so he lived in a totalitarian state and invented something and did something great for the country. So, of course, Joseph Stalin had him arrested.
And
Probably
killed-
after Joseph Stalin told him to do it. But once you're successful,
yeah,
Joseph Stalin killed you.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You become a liability.
but he was still alive. And in the late 90s, he was reactivated for the creation of biological and toxic weapons for clandestine operations in the West. Now, that may just be a rumor. That means he was activated after the fall of the USSR.
Boy, it's hard to imagine a past this destructive not seeping over into the current, because you see it everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not systemic, it's cultural.
Yeah.
It's a part of the fabric of who they are.
Yeah.
What is that?
I'll show it on the screen here in just a second.
Is that a sheep?
So, experiment number 4, reviving dead dogs with machines. Now, apparently in Russia, either dogs were extremely abundant or disliked. Soviet scientists were also believed to have investigated how to revive clinically dead organisms. A documentary called Experiments in the Revival of Organisms was created in 1940, which showcased some of the research.
Okay, again, what's the end game? Why would you research this?
They're mad Russian scientists.
Oh, yeah,
It's
that's
Dr. Strangelove.
that would be the only reason.
So Sergei Bokhanenko, Jesus, and Boris Levinskovsky.
Lavinskovsky.
Serious, guys.
Boris, that's a great Russian name.
You know,
Boris.
those B's are backwards and stuff are upside down. Performed a range of twisted tests on animals in the film. Soviet experiments on dogs were captured in the documentary Experiments in the Revival of Organisms. They started by removing a heart from a dog's body and then connecting it up to an apparatus, including a lung in a tray operated by bellows that oxygenated the blood. This allowed the heart to keep pumping outside of the body. So what they did is they built a contraption where you had a heart in a bucket, lungs on a tray, and you would have electrical signals sent to the heart to circulate the blood, and then bellows expand the lungs to oxygenate the blood, and they could keep the blood oxygenated.
It gives you a little glimpse into what they deemed as alive. I mean, obviously, you can't bring back consciousness or thought.
Well, Soviet scientists regularly killed dogs to further their research. This seemingly allowed the dog to return to life, a process that was reportedly repeated on several animals. Now, the thing is, if they can get to it quick enough and electrode up the heart and bellows
Sure.
up the face,
Then
they
that's-
might be able to keep the brain alive. And
Sure.
maybe this has led to some kinds of life-saving procedures.
When were these done?
This was done in the 40s.
Yeah,
1940.
likely not. It likely didn't leave the USSR.
Okay.
It was likely other countries, other sovereign nations were working on things similar.
Okay, so who's ready to be freaked out right now?
Criminally.
So I have pulled a little bit of a video.
No.
Okay, so
We have audio visuals.
before I hit play, you see they've got a bucket full of blood with a hose running through lungs and all that stuff.
Okay.
Okay, that's just kind of showing how it's going to work. Like that cartoon.
So they've attached it to the known arteries, main arteries within the dog.
Yep.
Okay. No.
Okay, there's the dog's head all plugged into it.
No.
Okay, poor dog. It blinks when they poke its eye. Its mouth is tickled. They put citric acid on it. It licks it off. This is a dog's head all by itself. It's not connected. The horror of this, okay? They shine a bright light in its eyes and it squints tight. They get a hammer out. They tap on the desk by the dog's head, right? And watch what happens when they do that. See, the dog hears the sound. It's looking, they tap by it, and it flinches when they tap by its head. And it kind of flinches and barks. Okay, that's enough of horror movies. You know what? Anything that our sister watches doesn't hold a candle to this craziness that these Ruskies performed.
Matt's like, holy crap.
And that's crazy. That is just a dog's head hooked up to send and return lines of blood.
People, if the price of moving forward in science
How many dung
is
beetles?
your soul?
How many dung beetles out there right now are these former scientists just pushing that turd into their cave?
Holy crap.
Now, okay, I've got the last one. Okay, guys, we're at the home stretch.
These people are the devil themselves.
Of course, this home stretch involves dogs.
Poor dogs. I love dogs.
Okay, Russian scientists are believed to have killed and tortured thousands of dogs in horrific experiments. The goal? To hone the nerve toxin that poisoned former Russian spy Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia in the recent Salisbury attack. Now, that was the attack where that Russian spy came back talking about the plutonium, and they poisoned him with the plutonium dart, if I remember.
Okay.
And he died a 14-day horrific death in a hospital. And I think just from being close to him, his daughter got died also.
Radiation poisoning.
So these people would first they'd test dogs with specially made dog gas masks on, and they'd have them walk on these treadmills in a cage, and they would gas the dogs so they could test the gas mask or the chemical to see if it could defeat the gas mask and how long it would take to die, what the effects are. I thought when I was going to bring this up, I thought about making comparisons to the makeup tests that we do over here. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Where they have monkeys and bunnies or whatever, and they, decorate their faces and see if it causes a rash or pink eye or what. I don't know how you tell if a bunny has pink eye. Aren't their eyes always pink? But anyways, but yeah. So the animals were forced to wear gas masks and walk on treadmills until they died from exposure to the powerful Novichok nerve agent. They took place at the Chemical Research Institute, which was abandoned by the Red Army in 1992. These terrified animals were forced to wear gas masks and walk on treadmills until they died from the exposure. Okay, so the compound was in Uzbekistan, and then it just goes on to talk about Judith Miller, who visited the compound after it had been shut down, told of her horror. I saw hundreds of small cages where the dogs were held on 25 miniature treadmills.
We got to do better as humans. Oh.
Yeah, that's a
It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe that the sordid communist past of what is now Russia could possibly have been completely wiped out.
shocking.
So,
really.
just like the sordid, past of the United States, still very much alive today.
I'm sure Russia's is too, and China's.
Correct.
Well, obviously China's is. Hello.
Yeah.
You know,
COVID.
yeah. We had tiny little cages with bats in it, and tiny bat no, they had a fan on one side. The bats were forced to fly in the fan until they caught the bat flu, and then they served them for dinner on the local market. Whatever. That was a joke. Only 85% serious.
Only 85% serious. We just don't know. That's the problem, is if the scientific research costs you your soul, stop.
Well, they were communists.
But it happens in all countries. They did in Germany had some of the most horrific human science experiments.
Yes. Mengele carried out experiments on twins that were just, and it wasn't like he was searching for a goal. Well, maybe he was. I don't know. You can't pick it out from what he did, but he did.
His were psychological in nature.
Popped eyes out, and he specifically targeted twins.
Mm-hmm.
It was horrible.
It's like he wanted a body double for when he messed up the first one.
Well, I think a lot of what he did is he wanted to perform the experiment on one and then compare it to the next and see what changes were made. And he did some where he poisoned them or altered their body. I think one of them, he removed some organ. He did a whole bunch of crazy stuff. Yeah. One day we'll have to do a show on him, but I've got to stern up before we dig into that. That one would be a grotesque monster.
Yeah, but it happens in every country, and I think what's more grotesque than the studies is that the funding for the studies is applied for often with transparency.
You got to fill out one of those 10C3 whatever.
Yeah. And
the worst part is there's scientists that will do this.
Yes.
The one with the head where they cut the head off.
Whose
the animal.
idea was that?
That's
the only way you could think to test your theory. That's it.
It's heinous.
You're supposed to be smart. That's all you got.
Yeah, it is heinous. But yeah, that's the show for this week.
Gruesome USSR experiments.
Thanks for joining us. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Have you been looking at it?
Yeah, just kind of watching it as it updates.
Yeah, a lot of people are pretty disgusted.
The subject matter is definitely weird.
Yeah.
It's kind of what we cover, like the weird stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, very true.
Oh.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, have a great week.
Yes.
sign of a human. Violence seems to show, not a sign of a human.